Hi, my name's J.Hamilton, core residence Colonies. We have our first colony, and Larry is a member. He's a guest on our program, and let's open it up. Larry Rosenberg, how long have you been involved with the first colony?
Several months. I've done about 15, 20 sessions, and I like it, and I feel it's working for me.
It's a good start. You were introduced, actually we all started at the same time, and we've had differing levels of, when I say commitment, some people went at it very quickly. In fact, I believe you started that way. You kind of wandered off a little bit and you've come back strong. And so you started out with Longview like everybody else did. Do you remember what it was like when you first started it up?
Yes. First, I was introduced with a concept, a theory. And here's the brain, here's the mind. The brain is busy doing so many functions, and it lets the mind, it delegates to the mind a lot of things. And having been a professor and a consultant, I have been in my mind most of my life. But if you can quiet the mind, let the brain be natural, then innate intelligence comes through. I was thrilled with that concept. And so when I started the Longview process, I looked for the calmness and clarity and the sense that I was able to focus and quiet the mind, slow down time. I saw results almost immediately, and they were very satisfying.
If I remember, you were a guy who'd sit in a group and nod out.
Yes,
and
yes.
that stopped when you started doing the Longview. When you see that when we're working with the brain, there's an introspective component. And of course, it's not mind-driven, but it awakens things that have never been awake. And I remember you were not only more alert and absolutely wide awake at 11 o'clock at night sometimes in our early days. But you also had, in my opinion, a pretty profound personality shift. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because we saw it.
Yes, yes. I have sleep apnea. And so if something is not engaging and exciting and active, I can tend to nod out, even in the middle of a conversation like this.
Like this?
Like this.
Okay, I get it.
Like that.
All right.
But when I started to realize that my brain was being exercised, was being strengthened, a sense of focus, sense of control, sense of the sense of the here and now, and this created an energy in me that I became more alert. And alertness and awareness overcomes the tendency to be bored and nod out. So I was feeling this, and it was like a quiet energy that I had tapped into, that I could draw upon, and I was thrilled with that.
I wonder if all of us inadvertently, because we don't have this introspective process, yes, we all do, we always do, but I wonder if this introspective process brought more calmness to your system, you had more room, you had more...
Okay.
So we were talking about the introspective process of the Longview protocol and the discovery that it gave you more energy and maybe a smoother ride. Could you remark about that a little bit more? Your sense of experience of... See, what I see is when you start doing this brain work, if you will, I see it as a very fancy introspective tool. We start working our way within, and debris that has always held us in abeyance, because we just don't look past it, we don't realize it's there. But when you start going within in this manner, playing with the brain, if you will, even the brain exercises, we kind of like knock down walls. I think that's what you were alluding to a little bit.
Right, right. because I have been so much in my mind, I am always churning in the so-called monkey mind and shifting to the brain. It sounds so simple, but it really was an epiphany for me. And so I'm shifting to an awareness that I'm fundamentally a brain, and that if I relax my brain, as I relax my brain, some very positive things are going to happen. And I call it the flow concept. Okay, the mind is choppy, the brain flows. Flows with awareness, flows with calmness, flows with alertness. And when I can get into that state, I calm down and I feel more present, and I feel like I don't have to worry about being prepared and worry about unpleasant surprises,
Right.
which is a fear around the edges. Because people in the brain always fear that people who are in their mind primarily, like I have been, there's a sense of fear that the mind is not going to come through. But I realized by relying more on the brain that the brain does come through.
So that's very good. It's a great insight, because what I discovered as a longtime meditator, and I'm way over 40 years now, but as I was coming up through my years of meditation, I came to realize that the nervous system, you say the brain, the nervous system is like a living antenna system, and as you quiet down, meditation is the practice of learning how to let the nervous system listen. And so when you talk about the brain, you're actually talking about the nervous system as a mechanism that hones in on the cosmos, if you will. And as you do that, everything quiets down, insight becomes available, and you become able to listen instead of running the mind all the time.
Yeah. My confession is that I have always had a challenge in meditating. And one of your early introductory statements was, this is like meditation, but it's different. So that was an attractor for me, to go into the brain exercises and feel I was getting some of the profound results of quietude and clarity and calmness that meditation gives. And I have not been disappointed.
There we go. Now, we touched on something that's pretty unique. I think actually Kathy was involved in this at some point. But we talked about the idea of intelligence, and I had made the suggestion that my intelligence had bumped. I don't know who I mentioned that to first. It was my own observation, and I decided to share it. And what I came to realize is that as we quiet our nervous systems down, our subtle sensing becomes more and more. And in that subtle sensing, information becomes available that we could not put together on our own. And ultimately, the definition of intelligence is that capacity to what? To be at an all different scale of order, for which synchronicity, harmony, and order is far and far greater. And then you sent me an article right after that suggested from a scientific world that intelligence is actually the measure of, I don't want to say smart, because smart, that's mind-driven. And what science is starting to discover is that we move past the mind as a tool and learn how to use the nervous system with your connection, for which, by the way, there was a paper in 1922 by two Columbia University professors that stated that in 400 years of prior history, all the big inventions, discoveries, and processes were discovered by multiple parties simultaneously. That means that they receive, all your inventors, they receive. And it's in that receiving that things come in, and your quote-unquote smart people, your intelligent people, actually are receivers. And this is what we're discovering, and you were part of that discovery with me.
See, I've been going through certain philosophical explorations and realizations in the recent years. And when core resonance came along, it fit. It fit. So I am doing much more of trusting the universe, and trusting other people, and trusting that the right answers are the right clarity. I don't have to work as hard as I have. The mind is there for working. The brain is there for receiving, for figuring things out, for recognizing patterns. As you say, harmony and order. And I love synchronicities. They make life so much easier. And I've had some zingers.
You want to touch on one just for fun?
There's a street I'm on, and I'm making a left turn, and the left turn light is very short. And I'm down the block, and I'm seeing that it's green, and I'm just saying, is this light favoring me? And I am just going to trust, and I made the turn. And I don't know if the light was malfunctioning, or I had some sort of superpower plug-in to make the turn, but it was like, wow, what a way to live.
Alexis and I had an experience just not too long ago. We were in a car and we were pulling out of our mailbox, and about 3 things happened at the same time, like insight, and I immediately backed the car up because the bumper and the headlights were right at the curb. And there were about 3 things happened at the same time, like kinds of insights. I backed up just to discover a car coming perpendicular, coming across the road, across 2 lanes that were going that way, a middle lane, and the 2 lanes that were going this way, for which I backed up. And there was a car in that first lane, and it tried to come all the way across to turn into the Thai restaurant about 2 doors down. And had I not intuitively backed up, there would have been too many cars and too much confusion in one little space of time. And Alexis saw it. It was a perfect example. We were in Bash's parking lot we were driving out of the parking lot, and the short version of it is, on my own, I dove for some empty parking spots. As this car came around and careened through at a 45-degree angle, I didn't even really see it beforehand. And it's these intuitive hits, these intuitive messages, these things that bypass the mind, and you act on them. Because once the mind kicks in, everything slows down. And it's this intuitive kick that's coming as we learn how to quiet our brain, let it become a receiver, and learn how not to resist and react to it. And I think you're experiencing that.
Yes.
I think, Larry, now just to be perfectly honest, you were strong at the beginning, you faded away for a while, you've made a recommitment and come back, and that has nothing to do with today, but just tell us just the tiniest bit about what all this means to you.
I am committed to growth. Growth as a human being, growth in terms of reaching my lofty goals in life. And anything that can help me, I want to try. And the core resonance philosophy, theory, framework appealed to me that this is a primary methodology that I want to learn, that I want to apply, and I want to benefit from. And I am confident and I am optimistic that you have put together a hell of a system, and I want to benefit from it.
You're on board.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.